Do you go to events? And if so, how do you do them? Today's discussion is how I do events. I'm Jen from Sugary Tie Dye, and today's business chat is all about events. So I have a specific process of how I do events, which begins with loading my truck, going to the event, setting up, selling, packing up, going home, unloading, and restocking. So I have a specific way that I load my truck. I have large plastic tubs that I put my items in, and I've got 6 of those. I have a smaller plastic tote for my smaller items. I've got a large sandwich board that's about 5 feet tall, which is 2 5-foot long racks hooked together. It's very heavy duty and very nice. I put my small items on that. I've got a tent, of course. I have 2 clothing racks shaped like in an X. I'll put a picture up on the screen of what my indoor setup actually looks like in a little bit. I've got weights for my tent when I bring my tent, and I usually bring my dolly cart, so that I can haul the boxes to and from where I'm setting up at. It's very physical to do events. It's a lot of, even though I use the hand cart, it is still a lot of lifting into the vehicle, a lot of walking back and forth. I do my indoor and my outdoor setup differently, of course. Outdoor, I have my tent. My tent is fantastic for displaying my tapestries. I sell 5x5 tapestries, and I can hook them up into the 4 quarters on the top of my tent so that they are very easy to display. I have some Turkish beach towels that are pretty long, and those I hook to a metal bar in the top of the tent as well. So then when I put the tent up, I've got those items, and actually those are the first items that I set up in my tent. I also have a PVC pipe that I hook from the back of the tent to the middle, which I hang my skirts and dresses on. Those are the 3 things that go up first while I'm setting up my tent. My 2 long clothing racks hold all the rest of my items, and I pretty much sort my items out by what type and size and whatnot. I have those little round clothing tags to go in between everything, so that it's easier for me and easier for the customer to find what they are looking for. And my sandwich board usually goes out in front of my tent. That is for the items that are too small to go on the clothing racks. So items such as my grocery totes, my scrunchies, my headbands, any small items like that go on the sandwich board. So that is generally my outdoor setup. My indoor setup is a little different. It depends on where I'm at and how big my space is. I generally like to have my back to either a wall or to another vendor that has a back, because I set up my 2 long clothing racks, and then I have 2 tall clothing racks that I bring from home that I pretty much only use on an indoor setup. And I use those with a tent pole between them to display my tapestries and my towels. It's not really ideal for indoor. It's pretty hard to display my tapestries and towels inside. And actually, the picture that I'm going to show with my clothing racks shows an indoor setting that I did recently, which I was like in a middle section, and I ended up sticking my tall clothing racks, 1 on each side, in between my X racks, and I was able to hook my tapestries and my towels up with a tent pole extending out of one end of those. So that was a pretty cool setup, actually. I'd never done a setup where people could walk fully around my entire booth area. So that was pretty interesting. It was a very good setup. It was definitely a little bit of a learning curve at first, but I really feel that was a pretty advantageous way of me to sell my items, and everything could be seen. So that was fantastic. I'll put a picture up on the screen of that, um, for that part. Now, the selling part of events is not necessarily physically hard, but it is a lot of peopling. I greet every single person that walks by. You definitely want to greet your customers, and I find that saying hi to everybody that walks by will at least guarantee that 50% of them will stop and say hi, how you doing? Out of that 50%, 25% of them will actually buy an item. So I believe that does increase the chances of selling items because people have a tendency to put on blinders and walk right on past. I track every single sale, including my cash. It is a good practice to do, even for tax purposes. I don't know what my full profit is if I don't track my cash. I have a little square reader that I can use for credit cards. I also accept PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App. So there are multiple ways of people to actually pay me for the items that they're buying. I carry my cash in a fanny pack. It's easy for me to just reach in and grab, and I also have my square reader in that for people that want to use credit card. It's quick and easy to just pull right out of my out of the fanny pack. I carry 5 1s, 5 10s, and 10 5s with me. I also carry 5 20s. I don't know how many times I've gone to an event and the first person that buys something from me will hand me $100 bill for a $20 item, and I've got to make change for that because I'm not going to pass up a sale because somebody hands me 100, and I don't want to use up all my 10s and 5s right at the beginning of an event. So I always keep that $100 and 20s so that I can specifically cash out either $100 or a $50 bill. So I keep a notebook where I track all my sales. I track the date and the place of the event. I'll write down the Google mileage because I do keep track of my mileage for my vehicle. So during the event, I'm on my feet the whole time. I have a chair, but I generally don't sit in my chair very often. If I sit in my chair, I'm kind of at a lower level and the customers can't see me. I can say hi to them and they have to kind of look around to figure out where I'm saying hi from. So it's easier just to stand the whole time. So I try to do an inventory while I'm at the event if I can. Since I keep track of every single sale, I write down the item. So I would write down ladies small short sleeve and the amount of how much it costs. I generally try to track that in my notebook so that it makes inventory easy. Once in a while, when I have multiple customers or I'm talking too much to a customer and not paying attention to what the size is that they're giving me, I won't necessarily write down the size of it. So that means that I will have to do an inventory after the fact. A lot of times, depending on if the event is slow or not, I'll do an inventory at the end of the day, before going home, before packing up and going home. If not, I have to do inventory at home later on. A lot of times I will do an inventory at home later on anyways because I need to know what kind of item I will be restocking. As far as, am I going to be restocking a spiral? Am I going to be restocking a scrunch, etc.? I don't want to have too many of the same things in each batch of clothing that I have. I keep 5 items per each size, per each type in stock, and I restock based on that amount. Coming up into the spring and summer, I'll be keeping more of the unisex large, extra large, and 2X just because it's easier for me. I sell a lot of those 3 sizes, so I'll be keeping more than 5 in stock of those. But generally, everything else I keep 5 of each size in stock. That takes care of inventory. The packing up. Now, before I get onto the packing up and going home part, I want to explain that I color code my products with colored hangers. So most of my unisex and my ladies short sleeve shirts, small through extra large, they all get a white hanger. A white hanger signifies $25. A red hanger signifies $30. Pink hanger signifies $35. Except for, say, the children's and the toddlers, which I do have color coding for them as well. I try to color code my hangers so that it's easy for me to, if somebody hands me, 2 white hangers and a red hanger, I know that it's going to be $80. It's I like to use that, and then when I get home and I see, okay, so I have these 3 hangers, so I should have sold 25, 25, and 30. I can double check my numbers against that. But that's generally what I do to make my life easier for me at an event, is to color code my hangers based on the price of the item. And I found that works out pretty well. Sometimes my brain doesn't want to catch up with me, so I do have to slow down sometimes and go, okay, wait a minute, how much does this add up to? I generally find that is a super easy hack to telling somebody how much something's going to cost. And a lot of times they'll say, how much are your blah blah blahs? And I'll say the ones with the white hangers are 25, the red hangers are 30, and upwards from that. So it also helps, even though I do have signage for all of my items. I've got laminated signage for everything that I sell. People do ask all the time. It doesn't matter if there's signage. A lot of times they'll ask anyways. All right, so into the packing up. When I pack up my item, I grab a section of clothing. So I will grab all the small unisex shirts, flip them into the tote. The medium unisex totes, I grab them all as a group and throw them in the tote. I grab the larges as a group, the extra larges as a group. I put all of my clothing into each tote as a specific group, so that when I unload at my next event, all I have to do is pull out the group, and I know that they're all the same size, as long as they didn't get mixed up in the selling process or in the packing up process. I know that when I pull a handful of things out, it's going to be a specific size of whatever it is. So I can easily put together my setup once I pack them up to go home in the correct way. That is one of the specific things that I do when I pack up, is just putting everything by group in the totes. My plastic tubs have a label on them explaining what is in every single plastic tub. So I have a plastic tub for ladies short sleeve shirts, a tub for unisex short sleeve shirts, one for youth and toddler, one for long sleeve, one for tank tops. So I've got all these tubs labeled with everything that goes in them, which also makes my setup and my pack up process so much easier. I believe that's it for the packing up part. Then I go home, I unload. I have that nice hand truck that I use to bring the things in the house. I have a ramp to bring them up the stairs, so it's easier on me. And that's unloading. Unloading is pretty basic. The restocking, like I had said earlier, I try to keep an idea of what items I have sold, as far as, was it a spiral, was it a scrunch, was it a Z pattern. I keep an idea of what I what I need to make. If not, I generally try to put the items that I've sold at the top of my totes. So all I have to do is open up the tote, and like the first bunch of product that I grab is going to be something that I need to make something with. So if I grab, if I have unisex mediums that were sold, I try to put them at the top, and then I can just open it up and grab the mediums out and say, okay, I have this, and this. Now I need to make this. That is the restocking process. And I mentioned that I had 5 of each product. So to recap, how I do events: load up, go to the event, set up, either indoor or outdoor. Then I have my selling process, and then taking inventory. Then my packing up process, my go home, unload, and restock. What do you do for events? Do you have any suggestions for me that would make something easier? Everybody does events differently depending on what products you sell. So if you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comment section below. And let me know if you have any other things that you do that make your vending events easier to go to and or track. I love to hear ideas of how other people do things. This has been a learning process in the years that I have been doing this, and looking at how other vendors set up things is something that I do on a regular basis, so that I can try to set my things up easier or find a better way to display something. So go ahead and leave a comment below. And my name is Jen. Thank you for being here. This is Sugary Tie-Dye Business Chat.